Hi, for this first part of our Communities Talk program, we're honored to be joined by drummer and professional musician Sterling Campbell. So first for our audience, I just wanted to share a little bit about your career. Sterling Campbell has been playing drums since he was 11, youngest of 6 boys in a household where everything from Stevie Wonder in Chicago to Elton John and Led Zeppelin could be heard and appreciated at any time. He graduated from the High School of Music and Art in Manhattan, but maintains his wide tastes stem primarily from home. Sterling began his professional career playing with a wide variety of artists, from singer-songwriters to fusion groups to punk bands at famous New York clubs such as CBGB, the Ritz, and the Peppermint Lounge. His big break came in 1986 when he supported Cyndi Lauper on her True Colors World Tour. From the late 80s to the early 90s, Campbell played in Duran Duran, the B-52s, and Soul Asylum, among others. Then in 1992, things came full circle when David Bowie recruited Sterling for his own band. He toured and recorded with Bowie up through the end of the singer's reality tour in 2004, which covered 17 countries in 7 months. In 2007, Campbell rejoined the B-52s and has continued to tour, record with the band through recent years. Well, we're honored that you're here and willing to share your story with us for our Communities Talk program. So we wanted to share a little bit about your journey around substances and recovery.
If I can explain it, especially in the early days, it was like, it's like this super high playing your music and everybody's excited and you do all this stuff and you kind of on this high and you don't want the high to go away. So and you're offered a lot of opportunities that are not normal, especially like in the rock thing. That's why probably a lot of people in the business have in the past have gotten into trouble, because things are offered to you and, like I said, you just want to keep it. You want to keep that energy going. It's hard to come down from it when you're playing in front of a lot of people and, psychologically, your ego's going and, you just you want more fuel and you kind of don't want it to stop. But everybody's different. It's not everybody. It's just certain people, it's like, people like to do a lot of, whatever, skiing and skating and do stuff that's action. It's got that same adrenaline to it. I was exposed to it and, every time it's kind of like a marriage because it was like, you finish doing the show, people all happy. I could be somewhere in Europe that I've never been. It's like, wow, this is cool. And you just don't want it to end. And being in that kind of environment, being in that headspace. And some people may have more of an addictive personality than others. And they don't know how to put the brakes on, And then like for a while, it was just like, let's keep going. It's okay, it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. Let's keep going with this.
So what for you do you think was sort of your tipping point or made you realize, that sort of the pattern you're on or the activities kind of, you were at the place where you needed to kind of change course with how things were going?
And I knew I couldn't stop doing it. And then it went on for like another 5 years. I couldn't, I wanted out, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And then slowly but surely I started making, kind of when I was speaking, we were talking about Soul Asylum. At some point I just said, okay, I have to go. I can't do this anymore. And it was a weird thing because it just popped in my head to want to do it, and it was maybe just an instinctual thing. And then I just went back home with my tail between my legs. And then, for me personally, I found a practice called Falun Dafa. It's a spiritual practice from China. And that really kind of put me on the road to recovery.
So speaking sort of the road to recovery, so like, how did you ask for help? Are there other kind of services you seek?
I would say, like I said, 5 years prior to that, I wanted out. So me finding this practice and I wanted to kind of defeat this. And I think that's really important. It can't be forced. It's got to be something you want to do. Because I didn't go into it, it's almost like a filtering. I came in, I went into it, and then I came out like, what, what happened? I never did drugs or I didn't even drink that much. It was just it was a process that I went through. It's like.
So when you were, touring with Cyndi Lauper and Duran, knowing what you know now, is there any advice you would have given to your younger self back then of things you may have done differently?
I don't, it's hard because I think a lot of people may go into it from like maybe a peer pressure thing, everybody else is doing it around it. Like I did it because like some of my heroes were people who did drugs, and I feel like, okay, let me explore this. So there was always like, and also being a musician, like, wow, I mean, I'm doing my job, and it's just like, you kind of you're people applauding, and it's this cause and effect thing, and everything. Girls, it's I mean, like I said, just go on Netflix and watch. You don't have to be even a musician. The fashion thing, it's all those components playing a part. But it seems for a lot of people, because when I stopped doing it, it was interesting because I didn't stop going to bars because I didn't want to lose us. I shouldn't say I didn't want to lose it. It's just like once I made that jump and I started practicing Falun Dafa, and I was completely sure I'm done with this, and I didn't. It's not everybody who's recovering can do that, but in my case, I was able to, I would still go out and not judge or anything like that because I understand it. I understand like going out and having a good time. But I don't know, like some people, they got to the point where they don't know how to have a good time without it. Because people would ask me, like, when, like everybody's like, yeah, we had a good gig, blah, blah, blah. What do you want to drink? I said, let me get sparkling water. And they look at me and like, you don't drink? And I'm like, no. Like, and maybe, I don't know if that triggered something in them, like, can you have a good time? You got to ask that to yourself. Can you have a good time without drinking? It definitely, like, you got to definitely be brave. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if like, I wish I didn't do it. Like people like, oh, I don't regret. Some people say I don't regret it. I mean, it happened, but if I told myself, don't do it. I mean, it's really that simple.
Can you talk a little bit about how you follow your passion while kind of keeping this driving for health and wellness? You talked a little bit about the practice that you're engaged in.
Well, I mean, yeah, Falun Dafa is definitely like, it's a practice out of the Buddhist school, and it's all about there's exercises, but it's really mainly about self-reflecting and looking at all the things you do and all the choices you make, and really trying to monitor yourself, and even especially on the psychological side, because all that stuff I think plays into it. The ego, everything. Like the ego could, for example, like people, people are drinking and say, come on, man, there's all that kind of peer pressure. You don't drink, all this stuff, and really have the bravery to just like, because you can get left out of it and be comfortable with that. So I feel like I've been like, and I'm still peeling it away, not for more of the addiction, but like, why did I even go into that in the first place? When you're asking yourself that question. So it could be peer pressure for a lot of people. I'm sure like in colleges, it could be peer pressure or not even colleges now, in high school. You have to be definitely sure, a bit more sure of yourself and really like, okay, I'd rather sacrifice maybe not being in that state of mind with people, and maybe I won't get invited. I didn't know that. I didn't drink at all. I didn't do drugs at all. And all of a sudden, slowly but surely, like by like 93, I'm like, holy crap, I'm like, I'm doing everything.
When you found yourself ready for recovery, and I'm just kind of wondering about what did you kind of have like for support systems or Do you have folks that kind of help rally around you to help you?
It's a weird thing. People knew me. I was pretty much of a straight shooter. When I started doing drugs, I'm in Europe. Nobody knew me either before or after. Um, I kept that pretty much hidden, like from my family, and only a couple of friends who saw me, they went like, "Whoa, what happened?" Um, and everybody was kind of dispersed. I can't say how blessed I was, because this it has to come from you. And I just felt so defeated for 5 years. Once I realized, like, oh snap, like this thing has got a hold over me. So a lot of it was even just like me being embarrassed. So I would do it when I wouldn't be around. I wasn't around my family that much anyway, because I was out touring. But I definitely, it came from me once I got that feeling of just not wanting to do it anymore. I wasn't going to let that go for anything, because that it was so, I just felt like I was just walking through the freaking swamp of tar. Just everything was hard to try to break that. I like observing.
Mm.
I really like observing things, because as we see now how different the world is. I mentioned, things that are in circa now. Like if you told me what New York was like in 1980s, 1973, it's all Netflix now. It's all this bygone place. So, and I've been very fortunate to see and gather a lot of things from that period, and it's still playing a cultural part, and there's still places where people find like, whoa, this happened, and that's what it's, this programs looking at the past. And like a big part of my past was like, where I became very cognitive of things is the 70s. Now that I know, everything that happens postnatally and cause and effect, and as a musician, like I started off this way, and it all definitely is like what's in your head. And you can see, like, now we have TikTok, and now everybody wants to be a star, and everybody wants to get feedback and all this stuff, and it's almost like a drug in itself.
Yeah.
And even that, you become a TikTok star or whatever, and then you go out and then there's a bar, and then you want to keep that high up, and you want to keep up your presence, and like there's a lot to it where you really have to take stock of yourself, because it can go awry, and it does. And there's documentaries to prove it now about what's happening with social media. So you got a whole new level of anxiety and addictions. And it shows you, it could happen. It may not happen in alcohol, but it might happen in looking at your freaking computer.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of the same thing, and I think it's important, yeah, I mean, discipline is really important. Like, hey, can I have just one drink? Can I not drink at all? You know,
Well,
that's something you have to really look deep in yourself. And like I said, nobody's going to do it for you.
Right.
Except for mom, dad, and family and friends and people close to you. Like, hey, man,
Those kind of issues. I wonder if you any kind of last advice you'd have for those adults that are in the lives of young people who are trying to help young people stay on kind of a healthy path, whether they're interested in music or other kind of pathways. Any kind of last words of wisdom or advice you'd give for those folks?
It's the world has changed so much, man. There's people don't want to like maybe rock the boat with young people. They don't want to come off being like what they said their parents were. I mean, I don't know how to because we're in a new age, and how everything is disseminating. Parenting, like you cannot use parenting techniques from back in the day. You really have to have a little bit, let's definitely listen to young people, man, because that's what you're going on. And how to have a conversation with young people is like, you definitely gotta know something about it, where they are, because they're in a different place. We're in a different time period. There's socially, everything has changed. And I think it all plays a part. And I listen to people, and I listen to, I try to listen to music. I'll check out the lyrics, like, you know, uh, and definitely get out like, well, when I was, when we were kids, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that was, we were lucky. If anything, if there was anything positive, then we were lucky, because I think it's got to be hard, even especially with the pandemic, like there's a lot, people, we had a whole period of when technology really kicked in, where it took away the whole thing of conversing and this, and people got into the phones, so you're dealing with the whole, and you just can't say, you guys, just get out of your phones. And it's like, no, like it's already out of the box. So
Yeah.
it's like figuring out how to talk to people, how to talk to younger people, because like most of us, like your parents don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
I mean, I've been like, even as playing with the B-52s, and even though it's a younger thing, I get to go travel and go to places, and you can knock up against things once in a while. And I try to pay attention to like what's going on
Mhm.
to a certain extent, because I don't have that. I like to be an adult too and watch, do things that are adulty, but I really try to hear them out first
Yeah.
and see what picture they're painting, and like, and try to understand it, because it's different.
All right. Well, that's kind of last. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you on the road,
Thank
hopefully
you.
somewhere in our region. And want to thank you again very much for being part of our Communities Talk program. We really appreciate taking the time and all the great your own journey and the great wisdom that you shared for our audience.